EV. You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
Hello, everybody. We want to welcome you to Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County. I'm Fred Wallace, along with my co-host Denise Reid, and we've got a great program in front of us today where we're talking about leaving a legacy gift in your will. On the program today, we'll be seeing a video from Georgian Bay Symphony. That's coming your way as part of our program today, and also we've got a couple of guests standing by, but as Denise and I like to do is we like to reinforce what Giving Well, Living Well is all about and why we're here and what our mission is.
It was I think, brainstorm of Willard Vanderplug of the Bright Shores Foundation and Stuart Reid of the Community Foundation that they wanted to what's a platform that we could go out into the community for more people to see on how we live well and how we can give well. And whether that is through volunteering, through donations, learning how to prepare wills, learning how we can avoid the taxes to the government, all that. How are we going to live well and how can we give well?
Yes, and on our previous episodes, we had the Women's Center of Grey Bruce were here. We also had a great video from the Center Grey Health Services, the Markdale Hospital Foundation. So those are just a couple of examples, and today we've got another example with us, and we want to say hello to Cody, who's joining us today. This is Cody Hay from Home and Community Services. Thanks for joining us today, Cody.
Hi, yes. Yeah, I'm the Community Development Manager for Home and Community Support Services Grey Bruce. So fundraising and volunteer management are the areas that I focus on with the agency.
Okay, and we'd also like to welcome Tyler Laitinen, who's joining us today from Sound CPA. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Very good. Let's start with you, Cody. You talked about your position. Can we talk about the services, or in a nutshell, can you give us an overview of Home and Community Support Services?
Certainly. Home and Community Support Services has been functioning since the early 90s as a not-for-profit and charity that provides services to seniors and adults with disabilities to prolong independent living and enhance quality of life. So some of the services that we provide are transportation services to help our clients get to and from medical appointments and also non-medical appointments, whether it be the grocery store or a hair appointment, that kind of thing. We also have hot and frozen meals, and all of these services are across Grey Bruce. We have Adult Day Program. The Adult Day Program is a medically monitored area that provides caregiver relief. So we have 6 of these across Grey Bruce. We have 1 here in Owen Sound, 1 in Wyerton, Markdale, Hanover, Port Elgin.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
What we needed was a map of Grey Bruce.
Right, just like visualizing it all.
Exactly.
We're going to talk a little bit more about some of these services and expand on them because not everybody might know about the services that are available. Tyler, thanks for joining us today. Tell us about Sound CPA, where you are and who you are.
We're right downtown in Owen Sound off of 10th Street there, 10th and 3rd. We're a full-service accounting firm, so we handle everything from corporations, audits, not-for-profits, and we'd like to really give back to the community, personal tax returns and trust returns. And that's what I'm here today, is talk about personal taxes and trust returns.
Well, and that's, I have to admit, a little over my head.
It's a little over my head, too.
Yeah. When it comes to knowing what to do, when it comes to wills, taxes, and I think that this would be something that our seniors, using your services, even though you're trying to encourage living at home, staying at home as long as you can with those services, but to prepare.
Always, right? So, I mean, even myself, I'm the child of an aging person, right? So, I mean, it's always important to think about what is the long game, with HCSS, you're asking yourself, well, what do I envision for the end of my life or the rest of my life? What kinds of services will help us ensure that the quality of life that we have is to the standard that we want, whether that be, with the transportation services as you lose your license or, as you lose the ability to make your own meals at home anymore, Meals on Wheels, or even as you begin to experience isolation. option. You know, we also have friendly visiting, but you also have to think about, you know, what do you want to happen with your estate, you know, as you near end of life, and do you want to give a portion of your estate to a charity?
Yeah. Which I think we've done, you know, episodes. This is our 11th episode now, and we have talked about, which is a hard topic.
It is.
When you have family, wills, funerals, what do we do with our money? Certainly people want to take care of their families first, but there's always a lot extra, and how can we do that with tax experts that can say, how can we avoid that government from getting too much? And that. So I do want to go back to your services. Is there a charge? Like, is there a charge for the services that you offer?
So we do have fees associated with our services. We are funded by the ministry, so it is government funded, but anything that is above and beyond as a not-for-profit agency is simply to cover the operational costs. Right. So our housekeepers, we have PSWs that are working at our day away alongside nurses. We have overnight respite in Hanover and Owen Sound, and we also have in-home respite. And I believe I've mentioned our other services, but all of them, with the exception of friendly visiting, do have some fees associated, but they are already subsidized to begin with. And we do also have a subsidy program that exists for clients that are operating within a certain annual income that it may be on the lower end of spectrum.
Cody, we could probably do a 6-hour show, could we not?
We certainly could. I could talk about our services all day. Yeah.
We're talking about the senior demographic, and Tyler, before we first came on, you just said that sometimes you experience the whoosh effect, that suddenly that there's money or there's property or there's an estate to be dealt with.
Yeah, so basically what ends up happening is a lot of times people don't like to think about the end of life and what that looks like because it's final. And proper planning, especially on the estate side, when there's any sort of assets involved or large amounts of investments, is prudent and should be done well in advance and before you start getting to those, you know, I'm on my deathbeds moments. And that involves a lot of processes, and one is dealing with probate, and then the other one is dealing with your final tax return and your trust to estate return.
We'll get into depth in a little bit more on this, but how much of your work is dealing with that particular aspect, the seniors?
Quite a significant percentage. Right. Grey Bruce has an aging population, so we do get quite a few trust returns that we deal with on an extended basis yearly. So I'd probably say like 2 to 3% of our client base, which is significant on the personal side.
We've talked about it before, that there's kind of two sides when you look at it. The senior population to have their will done, have it figured out who they want to give their money to. There's a sense of relief for them, but also a sense of relief in a way that they can do that for their family before they've passed away, because their family is dealing with the grief and death of their parent, child, whatever it may be. So we're saying how beneficial it is to do this ahead of time. And even though we don't think about it when we're younger. All of a sudden we're 60-some, and you're
not giving anything away.
60-some. You're going, boy, we really need to have that looked after.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, do you suggest that people, as soon as they start accumulating assets?
Yeah, like basically, if you started accumulating assets, and just a will in general is good to have. If you have a young family, even someone my age in their 40s, you really want to make your wishes known, what happens to your assets after death. And having a will dictates what happens.
And it's an important conversation. Cody, in your work, you're dealing with seniors, but also there's family members sometimes that are connected, younger family members that are connected to the people that you're serving. Do you see people having these conversations, or is it a difficult conversation to have?
It's complex.
Yeah.
You know, I know that there are people that are fully prepared and have been talking about this for a long time, and then there are people that like to put it on the back burner. right? It's an uncomfortable conversation. So the topics like probate and how to make sure that you're prepared for, for death, or making sure that you've got everything prepared so that your family isn't left wondering what it is that you wanted to happen. Sometimes those conversations don't happen. With HCSS, on my side of things at the agency, we're seeing more so, as people begin to age, and whether it means that they're experiencing symptoms of dementia or their cognitive abilities begin to decline for whatever reason that's associated with aging. Sometimes people that are power of attorneys or even just emergency contacts, they don't always know the answer to these questions.
Well, we've talked about that quite a bit, right, Fred? The fact of the communication, and whether it's be with you and your children, you and your accountant, you and your lawyer. I mean, I don't know, do y'all get around in a circle and discuss it all? Or?
Sometimes we do, yeah, depending on the estate. We work with a lot of law firms in town, and then they work with the accountants in town, and we do have those fulsome discussions because we want to make sure that the tax plan reflects what's on the will. Yeah.
Well, and you would, and also a financial advisor too,
Yep.
as far as I can visualize your accountant, your financial advisor, your lawyer, and hopefully your family already has kind of an idea of what's going on, but I think a lot of times they don't. Nobody wants to face it.
And there's a complexity too, and this is what I'll say for our final portion of this segment, Tyler, is how valuable is a chartered professional accountant to navigate the intricacies of a will or of an estate.
And this is very valuable. Well, I'm saying that because, but it's really good to have a team on your side. And by that, I mean, we function as not just your CPA, but then we bring on the lawyer, we bring on the financial planner, and we have a fulsome picture of your tax obligations, not just for yourself, but also the executor. And we can navigate the Tax Act and make sure that you know exactly what you're paying without being offside. And that's another thing, is a lot of people, especially when there's assets involved, go, oh, I'm just gonna go file my mom's final tax return. Oh, by the way, there's all these other
I'm going to bring this up during one of our segments, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. This is Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County. Our guest today, we have Cody Hay, who is from Home and Community Support Services, and also Tyler Laitinen, who is with us. Tyler is representing Sound CPA. Coming up, we have a video. It's Georgian Bay Symphony, one of our partners this year. Stay with us. We'll be back with more of Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers, Grey County.
Hi, I'm David Adair, and I am the General Manager of the Georgian Bay Symphony. The Symphony benefits the community in many ways. Music is so important to the community, whether it's a funeral, a wedding, a civic function, those are always enhanced, and there's always music at those events. We give the community an opportunity to hear some amazing music, and as a community orchestra with volunteer musicians, we give members of the community an opportunity to play that wonderful music. So during COVID, we did an entire season of digital concerts. Our musicians at home recorded themselves. It was all put together in a studio, and then we provided that to the community on YouTube. Here's what some people have said about the Georgian Bay Symphony. The music, the musicians, and the conductor were full of life. Terrific night. A wonderful evening of music. Thank you and bravo. It's been a few years since I've been to a concert. It was just phenomenal. Really appreciate all the musicians. It was a delightful evening filled with wonderful music. Donations are important to the Symphony because it's a not-for-profit. We don't receive a lot of money from the government, and we need it to do what we do, to put on our concerts, to do our educational programming. It's fundamental to us continuing. People can donate to us by going online to georgianbaysymphony.ca, an opportunity to donate directly. They can give us a call at our office or visit us at the office.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Living Well, Giving Well on Grey County, Rogers Television. I'm Fred Wallace, along with Denise Reid. And our guest today, we've got Cody Hay, who is with us from Home and Community Support Services, along with Tyler Laitinen from Sound CPA. Just before we get back to our conversation, I do want to do a shout out here to the Billy Bishop Homan Museum. They had their trivia night back in early October, and it was a very successful night. And the Billy Bishop Homan Museum is just one of the examples of an organization or a charity that's in our community or in your community that we hope that you would consider supporting in terms of leaving a legacy gift in your will. And if it's not the Billy Bishop Homan Museum, maybe it's the Canadian Cancer Society, or as Cody would gratefully appreciate, the Home and Community Services.
So can you give us how can we do that? Can we volunteer? Can we give cash? What are the different options?
Oh, certainly. So, I mean, when we titled my department Community Development, we were really looking at, what do people have to give? Sometimes it's time, sometimes it's their wealth. So we do manage an incredibly giving team of volunteers. We have 600 volunteers, and we're
600.
always needing more in the community to serve.
600.
We have over 4,000 clients in Grey Bruce. So yes, you can always volunteer. In terms of wealth, you can walk in with cash. You can also call us, or we can have a meeting and we can talk about, with the help of an accountant like Tyler, how do we set up a legacy gift in your will. Some people are monthly donors, which is extremely helpful. They have a small donation that comes out every month. Some people do one-time giving, and it really, we're extremely willing to work with whatever it is people are hoping to do.
Cody, can I ask about the budget, or does the budget fluctuate? That's a tremendous need for the number of people that you're servicing.
Certainly. So donations, people can specify which program or area they want their donation to go to. Some people specifically want to see their donation go into Meals on Wheels to help with food security for seniors and adults with disabilities in their community. Some people are a little bit more comfortable with the donation going anywhere. With HCSS, we're very specifically these days thinking about how do we keep the cost of our services stable for our clients, and that's where these donations can really come in. We're seeing across Grey Bruce, or even our meal providers in restaurants, our community partners, their bills are rising. Everyone's bills are rising. The cost of food is increasing. So, of course, very understandably, they're having to raise their prices, but we would love to be able to keep our prices stable. And that's where donations come in.
We've talked lots before, too, of volunteering. And when you volunteer with whatever organization it is, you become passionate too about it. And whether you're using your services or volunteering your services, that's a way that we can form a relationship with people so that they think, I think that maybe I have funds to give to HCCS, right?
Yeah.
And then so there we go, we've got funds. How are we going to do that then?
Yeah, so basically, giving to registered charities is a great way to lower the tax liability, whether if you're currently living and in the estate, because as you give, like say it's sizable or even a small amount, every bit helps. So the government recognizes that, we want a thriving public sector. So you get, in Ontario, it's 15% of the first 200, and then everything after that is 29%. So if you're giving in Ontario, it's roughly, I think, around 45% of that dollar gets refunded back to you on your tax return, if you look at it that way. So
I think that's key for people to understand, that they can get a tax back from giving.
Yeah,
Yes.
so, and that's the biggest thing is, if you have access, it's really good to, first, usually people look after their family, and the next step should be what in the community is important to you, and if it's a registered charity, and look at helping them out, because a lot of people do depend on these organizations like Home and Community Support. So if you are looking at a charitable event, we can structure it again, planning properly for your end of life is we can structure it, which maximizes, one, the gift to the charity and then their needs, and two, to you as personal and your estate. So it's really nice when the CPA gets involved early, so we can do that.
Tyler, you should be our spokesperson or our model for Living Well, Giving Well, because that's probably, as well as Denise and I have ever been able to put it, is that family first, and then when you, or if you have funds available, there are many, many charities and organizations to be supportive. In your experience, are people aware of this, or do they need to be further educated and alerted that this is a great process?
Yeah, it goes back to our previous conversation, is most people just come to us after the fact, right? And when it really should be done proactively. It's kind of like everything else, is you want to be very proactive, and it should be done when you're in the will process and getting your affairs in order. So, yeah.
I think what was the, quote, you can give 1% of your will to whomever, like charity.
Yeah.
You still have, because people are worried about their family, right? We still have 99% to go to charity, to go to your family, or whatever. I think, am I right on that, Fred?
No, you are.
Yeah.
Do you find the family supportive of home and community support services?
Oh, certainly, Fred. Especially around, whenever we see a funeral, whether it be the death of a volunteer or the death of a client, sometimes people will put in their obituaries, please donate to HCSS. And we've had people that have donated with us volunteered with us, donated their time since the early 90s as volunteers. Yeah. People that have been helping drive, people that have been delivering Meals on Wheels. And, even those volunteers, we do give them mileage reimbursement or charitable tax receipts. So there are people that are donating their mileage already, even not even within the realm of making a charitable check, right? Yeah. So I think in terms of families that are supportive, the caregiver relief that some families can get from HCSS gives them time back in their life. Right. Gives them the ability to have personal time to live their lives outside of the role that they play as caregivers. So we definitely do see support from family in relation to, and 1% of an estate is small.
Well, if it's Denise's estate.
No, we've talked about this before. This is another episode where Fred was going, if I had $1 million.
If I was Denise.
How was I going to do that? But anyway, I also wanted, on a personal note, before we moved on to something else, my mother-in-law, who's 94, has a driver come and pick her up from HCSS every Friday, takes her to the hairdressers. His name is Brian, and I want to give a shout out to Brian. I don't know Brian's last name or not, but she just loves him. And it's a standing weekly thing that she has, and it's an amazing relationship. And he, from what I understand, volunteers his time to do that. So
that's just it. Is all of our volunteers, any of our volunteers that are helping our clients get to where they need to go, they are volunteering their time. The mileage reimbursement is simply to help cover the cost of their fuel and the wear and tear on their vehicle, so they're not out of pocket. But those volunteers are making significant improvements in the lives of seniors in our community, right? Just because someone is aging doesn't mean that they shouldn't be able to go get their hair done anymore.
Feeling good.
Which is really important, right?
Oh yeah, feeling good.
Yeah.
It's a win-win situation, that one, I think.
You talked about the number of volunteers, that you had 600 and could use more. What are the areas maybe most needed for a volunteer, or what there were probably many duties available, but is there a primary need where you could really, really, really use volunteer assistance? It
depends on the program, certainly. Okay. But I would say for transportation, we could use transportation volunteers all across Grey Bruce, and in Meals on Wheels, especially in Owen Sound, especially in Kincardine. We need Meals on Wheels volunteers in Lions Head. It's everyone, every little bit that people can give helps, and we would never turn away a volunteer.
Okay, so there's something for somebody, right?
There is something for everyone.
Isn't that terrific?
Yeah.
So we talked volunteering, and we talked about that, and Fred mentioned the budget. Do you write to the government? Like, are you looking for, that must be a job, I don't know, do you do that when you're writing up to get money from the government?
That would fall under the responsibilities of our executive director, Carolyn, and Joanne. They do incredible work to advocate for the agency. If we could have endless less hours for our staff to provide medical rides, because we also have accessible vans that give rides in wheelchairs or for people that are in wheelchairs. And we could always use more funding to help people get to where they need, because there is a cap, right? And it is an issue. And that's where donations come in hand as well.
Yeah. Always donations, always needed, right? And I think there's always people willing to give, whether that's your time or not, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a primary program? I mean, you have a lot of services. Is there a service, one that stands out more than the others in terms of what you provide and what's needed to be provided?
The highest percentage of our clients that are in one specific program are in Meals on Wheels, but most clients are receiving services in multiple programs, right? So they'd be receiving their Meals on Wheels, whether it be hot meals or frozen meals. That happens twice a month. And then maybe they're also accessing our transportation, and maybe they also have a housekeeper. It is, it's not just one, people usually are in more than one.
Yeah, it's quite an umbrella that you offer at Home and Community Support Service.
Definitely.
Tyler, as we wrap up our program today, I want to talk about the significance and value of a will, and also leaving a legacy gift within the will, and how a CPA can help you guide through that process.
Well, as I discussed earlier, it's very similar. A legacy gift would act just like the charity tax credit, and it's no different if you're living or in your estate, and you still have access to that. So it would go as a credit to your tax liability. So say you owe $10,000, you make a contribution that's 20, you'd still get access, not the full 20, but that percentage, and then that would go against paying down that tax liability on your final tax return. So setting it up, again, being proactive, is looking at your full tax picture and then looking at how much that you can give, because you don't want to go and commit, say, setting up something in your will, but then there's nothing left over in the estate to pay that, and then that falls on the executor. So it's always good to bring in a CPA and professionals early on in the stage if you're looking at significant contributions.
How do people get in touch with you at Sound CPA?
Yeah, so our website is the best way, is www.soundcpa.ca, or our phone number is 519-372-2133.
Tyler Laitinen, Chartered Professional Accountant at Sound CPA. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. And Cody Hall, thank you for joining us from Home and Community Support Services.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Once again, this is Living Well, Giving Well on Rogers Television, Grey County. On our next edition, Tyler and Cody will be back to talk more about services and also about the dreaded word of taxation and how maybe to avoid some of the fingers of the government getting into your pie. Stay with us. You're tuned to Rogers Television, and this is Living Well, Giving Well.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Hi, Hi, I'm Lynn from Third Eye View, and welcome to a brand new season that we're looking forward to. We have some return guests and some brand new guests. And in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your summer, stay safe.
Hi there, my name is Tracy Hinchberger, and I represent the Kincardine District Chamber of Commerce. I hope you will join us for our next segment of Chamber Chat on Rogers TV, a fascinating behind-the-scenes look at some of our member businesses. You'll learn more about local special events, restaurants and retail, not-for-profit organizations,